Hello and welcome back. Today I will be walking through this code that introduces the concept of functions and nested functions. So before I get into the actual code, the story of this code is you want to help this girl here, Abby, practice her basic math skills. So you essentially hand her a num1, a number2, an operator that adds the two numbers, subtracts two numbers, whatever, and then she outputs a value for you. So if I run this code, just help me practice my math skills. Then here are the available operators we can use. So first we give her an operator. So let's say enter a plus operator. First number, let's say it's 1. Second number is 2. So I hit the 2 key, I hit enter, and then she returns 3. And then if I want to calculate another number for her, so I could do, say I want to calculate another number. So I say yes, practice some more, enter another operator. So this time I want to do multiplication. And I say first number, it says 4, enter, 5, enter. So it should be, 20, because 4 times 5 is 20. So if I want to do another number, but this time let's give her some invalid operator. So if I give her like 0 as an operator, which is not a valid operator, and I say like 1 for the first number, 2 for the second number, say not a valid operator because 0 is not a valid operator, and we get undefined back. And the other case where something could go wrong is, let's say we give her a valid operator like division, but the first number is like a, and the second number is 2. A is not a valid number, so she says at least one of the numbers is valid, and then we get undefined back again. So we say, so if we're done with calculating all the numbers we want, then we say no. She says, thank you for helping me practice her basic calculation skills. So now if I go into the code for this, so these are the variables we're going to be using. So value is a number that's returned from doing the operation on two numbers. The flag variable controls when we want to exit this infinite repeat loop. The operator is the operator that joins the two numbers together, so like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Num1 is the first number we enter, num2 is the second number we enter. So then we enter this infinite repeat loop, and then we ask the user to enter these operator, the num1, num2, and then we have this calculator block. So the calculator block is the first function we created. So basically what it does is it's a bunch of if conditions. So it says, first it checks if num1 and num2 are a number, which is a compound conditional. And then if this is true, then we start looking for the operators. If it's not true, then we know that at least one of these numbers isn't valid, so then we just return undefined and we exit. But if both are valid numbers, then we look for is the operator a plus operator, then we go into this nested function that is this add function. So this is a whole another function that takes num1, num2, and again from this other calculator function, and then it sets the value to num1 plus num2. And then if it's not a plus, then we look for minus, which the minus one does the same thing except it subtracts the two numbers. So it takes in num1, num2 again, and then it sets the value to the subtracted value of num1 minus num2. And then for the multiplication, it's the exact same thing. We have another function called multiply that multiplies num1 and num2 and sets the value to num1 times num2. The last thing is division, and then we have a function called divide, then it divides the two numbers, num1 divided by num2, but we also have to check if num2 is 0, then we say we can't divide a number by 0, and we set value to undefined. So this is another special case that we need to check for, specifically for division. And then if none of these operators are the ones that were entered, then we say not a valid operator, and we set it's undefined. So you can easily see how, if once you have this calculate function, this main script would be really long and kind of hard to read if you didn't have this calculator function that takes in num1 operator and num2. It just simplifies the code here a lot, and then you can kind of intuitively see like, okay, calculator should just calculate the operator num1, num2, and the result of that, and then we'd set it in value. And then at the end we say if answer equals no, then we set the flag to false, which just says exit this loop and then go down here. But if it's anything else that's not no, then we go back up to the top and ask the user for more information. And we keep doing this until they say no. That's like the whole program. So one thing that a student might struggle with in this entire program is the idea that we can put a function within a function. So this calculator function has sub-functions in it that handle each of the operations individually. So we have an add function, multiply function, subtract function, divide function. And a student might get confused about how we can use like all of these or put a function within a function and also pass the parameters we have here into another function. That might confuse them a little bit. Another thing that might confuse them is how we can use value within a function, and we can also use value within a subfunction, because value is defined out here. So how can we use value in here? Well, technically, value can be seen as kind of like a global variable for its entire script. So we can still use it in this function, because we essentially look for it within our program. It doesn't have to be just defined within this function. It can be anywhere in the program. We can still use it. The last thing a student might get confused with is, I could have made this more clear, but num1, num2, num1 in here is different from num1 out here. We're essentially passing a copy of num1 into here. We're passing a copy of num1 from this function into this function. So like it makes, every time we pass a variable to a function, it essentially makes a copy of the variable that's passing it. So num1 here will be different from num1 here, even though we're just passing it in. Like it just makes a copy of it. It doesn't like change both of them in this case. I should have made that more clear, I think, but that's another thing that students might get confused about if they're using the same variable names like everywhere. They just have to be mindful of that. With that, I think that's about it. Thank you.